Hey everybody, we're here at the Human Derek YouTube channel, and as you can see, I haven't even brushed my hair today, but it's Sunday. I'm trying to do a little relaxing, a lot of reading, planning for the week, having some conversations with some friends, and then I'll probably head out to the beach here in a minute because it looks like it's actually going to turn out to be a beautiful San Diego day. But first, what I want to talk to you about is sacrifice and change, and the sense of control that some people feel like they don't have, or their circumstances, or where they're at. And the reason I want to talk about this is because you can change, and it's a lot of people don't understand that, but you have to think like, what's the worst that could happen, right? So if you are so unhappy, but you're thinking about, oh, I have a mortgage and I have a car payment, and what about this and that? All those things are temporary. Everything everything is temporary. I mean, there's three cycles to everything in life, and it's start, change, stop. So that car payment's going to run out someday. That mortgage is going to run out someday. But to bring it back, and I was talking to a friend, and that's what instigated this, or provoked this thought. And really, it's that she was talking about Amazon and how they're misusing people. And I'm not even going to do the research because it doesn't really matter. If it's out in the open and people are aware that they're being misused or mistreated, or there's something about their job that is not ethical or moral, uh, they can change. They can quit. They can do something else. Yeah, there's probably bills to pay and mouths to feed, and I get that. I totally understand that. It's not easy. I'm not saying it's going to be easy or it is easy, but it's temporary. What is 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years? What's 5 years? If you're going to live to be 65, 70, 80, probably a lot older, hopefully at today's age, 80, 90, 100, 110 years old, who knows with technology. If you're going to live to be 100 years old, what's 5% of your life in terms of sacrifice? And that's on the high end, 5 years. It's probably not going to take 5 years to make these changes. But what's 6 months? That's not even, if you're going to be 100 years old, that's a little over a half of a percent of your entire life. Short term sacrifice for long term gain. So I really actually, I don't, when I hear, about these, the whole conversation was about big corporations and corruption. And when I hear that a big corporation is, mistreating employees, I really don't, I want to empathize because I know that there are, it's got to be tough for those situations, and I don't want to take any blame away from the corporation or shift any blame away from it, and not say that those things are bad, because those practices are not good, whatever the practice might be. If it's corrupt or unethical or bad, not great. But it is also your responsibility, you right there, your responsibility as an employee, as a salesperson, as a mother, as a father, to take that internal feeling and actually act on it. Not to be scared or worried about what if. And, somebody might go, well, how do you get to preach about this, right? Why are you the expert on this? I'm not the expert on it, but I've done it multiple times in my life when I wasn't happy. Sold everything, moved. Growing up as a kid, I lived in motels. I lived at homeless shelters, domestic abuse shelters, and not because there was domestic abuse, but because it's, my mom was very interesting. So we ended up in a lot of places growing up, and it it's I always thought it was rough or bad, and I tried to make the best of it. But what I realized is something that my mom did teach me about all those experiences was that when she was really unhappy, she would make a change. Now, was it a change for the better? Totally debatable. But she did always make those changes, even though if we fell back into their stuff, she would, push and be an advocate for, like, this is not a good circumstance. So I want you to take that power and say, if you're in a circumstance that you're not happy with, anything in life, whether it's a relationship with a friend or a job, something big, even if you have a five, six, seven, $8,000 a month mortgage, a house is just a thing. You could lose your house. Oh my gosh, who cares? If you live in the U.S., you live in a country where, sure, it's probably not ideal and maybe a little bit stressful, but the government will literally pay for your housing and food. So there's absolutely no excuse. Um, you know, even if you're people that rely on you, I think it's a great lesson for kids to learn that short-term sacrifice for long-term gain is absolutely an amazing thing. So if you leave with nothing else other than I hope a more relevant understanding of the fact that it's your decision. You can't blame your employer. You can't blame your spouse. You can't blame your landlord. You can't blame anybody because it's up to you to take action to fix or adjust the situation. So, happy Sunday.